All right. Here we go, guys and gals. And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, drivers.
And we are live for the Loose Wheel Season 2 podcast. I should know what number, episode 9. I figured out the episode number very quickly.
Way to go.
I'm Andrew. Ethan's here. Got a nice Zoom podcast today. So
Yeah. Zoom podcast. It's our spring break. So I am back in California. I left the beautiful Arizona weather for this cold and somewhat rainy Bay Area weather. But looks like it's still pretty nice over there in Arizona, Andrew.
Yeah. I'm showing my camera. Ethan is not. I'm out in the sun. Got a nice breeze, so I don't know if that's gonna pick up or not, but it comes and goes. But let's get into the reviews.
And now for last week's race reviews.
3 races happened. 2 in the Middle East, 1 not too far from us, relatively speaking. We'll start with the Qatar 1812 kilometer 10-hour race. 10-hour race unless they couldn't get all the racing in. And they got all the racing in I watched like the last 30 minutes. Porsche dominated with 2 cars on the podium of their own, and then the Jota Porsche, the 12, it was the 12 on the podium, I believe, making it an all Porsche podium, but it wasn't looking like it was going to be there. Peugeot had their car in a battle for second with the Jota Porsche before realizing it was French and broke down. I'm gonna say I was fairly surprised because in all its time, Toyota had won every hypercar race except for 2. When technically, the old Alpine LMP1 won 1 2 years ago at Sebring, and then Le Mans last year when Ferrari won. So I did not expect a Porsche 1-2-3. That did happen. Yeah. And then an LMGTE Porsche also won. So yeah, I still don't know why you put the FIA's 2 races on Saturdays that are opening their 2 big championships at the same time near each other. Just doesn't make sense to me. I get the people that are gonna watch F1 are gonna watch F1. The people that are gonna watch WEC are gonna watch WEC, but I don't know. It seems weird.
A little bit weird, but just the way the schedules work out sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, do we want to get into the Bahrain review?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so Bahrain, of course, opening round of the F1 calendar of the F1 season. Who won? Well, you would be shocked to hear that it was Max Verstappen. He never wins, so very surprising that he won this race. Coming in second,
Very
over
shocked.
20. Yeah. Coming in second, 22 seconds behind Max was his teammate Sergio Perez. And the thing is, Sergio, he did everything he needed to do. It's so crazy that Max, in the same machinery, managed to win by such a wide margin. I mean, Max is he's otherworldly, really. But Sergio, nice race, finishing second.
I called it.
Carlos Sainz rounded out the podium in third. Few seconds behind Sergio. He was catching him near the end of the race, but didn't have enough laps, didn't have enough pace to get past Perez for second. And fourth was Charles Leclerc. He started second, ended up finishing fourth. He had a brake issue that really destroyed his I mean, it didn't destroy his race. I mean, he still finished fourth, but destroyed his chances of a podium. If he doesn't have that issue, he probably finishes on the podium, but finishes fourth. And then we have a section of 4 cars in about 10 seconds of each other at the end of the race. George Russell, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, and Oscar Piastri. The Mercedes, George Russell specifically, seemed to have some issues, but he had a good race. Lewis kind of lacked some race pace, which was a little interesting. He didn't shoot up the grid throughout the race as some people would expect. He finishes 7th, Lando and Oscar 6th and 8th for the McLarens. The Mercedes and the McLaren seem pretty similar to start out the year, at least on this track configuration. I mean, there's so many different types of tracks in F1 that, we'll see how, the cars play out on different tracks, and with the development throughout the year, things will change for sure. But Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll finishing 9th and 10th. And those Austins kind of seem to be in no man's land. They don't really have enough pace to catch in front, and everyone behind is too far behind. In 11th was Zhou Guanyu. Amazing drive from him, finishing 11th. Kevin Magnussen managed to finish 12th, so good on him. Daniel Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda 13th and 14th. Yuki was ahead of Daniel before team orders swapped them. Yuki was not happy about that at all. The RBs kind of had a disappointing first weekend in their new era, I guess you could say. They were expected to be fighting the Austins really by a lot of people, and instead they weren't really close. So we'll see how they go throughout the season, but a lot of people's expectations for them were not met. Alex Albon was 15th. Nico Hulkenberg, he had a really nice qualifying gain to Q3, but first lap collision with Lance Stroll ruined his race. So he could have had points, or at least fought for points, but 16th for him. And then 17th and 18th were the 2 Alpines. The Alpines, people were saying they could be the worst cars on the grid, and they definitely were the worst cars on the grid. I know,
Rip
Andrew,
to my
you weren't.
predictions.
Huh?
Rip to my predictions.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Andrew, you were kind of on one side of it, saying like, "Oh, the Alpines can't be as bad as everyone says." The Alpines were as bad as people were saying, if not worse. So 17th and 18th there, and the only cars that finished behind them were Valtteri Bottas and Logan Sargent, who both kind of had their races ruined by things out of their control. Valtteri Bottas had once again an extremely long pit stop, almost a minute long. His team just messed up on that, and Logan Sargent had a steering wheel issue. So that was how the 20 were for Bahrain. Wasn't exactly the most exciting race. There was some good midfield battles, but we can hope for a more exciting one next time out in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. It amazes. Quick note for me. It amazes me how you have a factory team with Alpine, who is a significant player in the French car world. I do believe, and with that, with these investors that are celebrities,
Yeah.
with your own engine, you aren't able to do anything. That's disappointing. Right now, there is a overturned plastic chair next to me. That's pretty much resemblant of what Alpine is right now.
Yeah. And like you said, Alpine, they're a subsidiary of Renault, so they're not a small corporation. They're not a small team trying to tackle this. This is, huge,
Embarrassing.
yeah, hugely embarrassing from a huge company with, like you said, so many investors, high profile investors, and they rock up to the first race of the season with a tractor.
Not even a tractor, maybe even a bus.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
low.
Yeah, that's why I thought Alpine would be better, is their ability to rebound.
Yeah,
But
they
yeah,
can
we'll see about that.
they can probably improve more throughout the season than a team like, the Williams
Yeah.
back when it was like Russell and Kubica. Like, though they were terrible cars at the start of the season and they stayed terrible throughout the season. If it's, this Alpine team, you have to put more faith in them that they'll be able to improve the car throughout the season for Gasly and Ocon. But as of now, they're, looking like the worst cars on the grid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a shame. But moving on to the Oval of Las Vegas. The Spring Las Vegas race is normally a kind of a weird race. I remember one year where there was just a dust storm in the middle of the race. We did not have that this year. We had a strategy race, which is not normal for Vegas, which is kind of interesting. A lot of people went off strategy, and a lot of people failed at that for the most part. At the end of the race, Ross Chastain took 2 tires. That worked for him. He finished like top 10, top 5. I want to say third. I don't remember. But yeah, there was a couple cautions, including Chris Buescher, who after the first pit stop lost a wheel. The nut was not completely tightened and secured, and with the lock did not engage because it was not secure. So he ran with that for a few laps, and then he lost the wheel. The wheel then became loose, caused a caution. So yeah, we had a loose wheel.
Love
So
it.
yeah. And then William Byron, he was running well, looked like he was gonna do compete with the other drivers, but he had a trash bag go onto his car. The water temperature went up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is not ideal
No.
for a race or anything really, unless
Yeah, that's not optimal operating temperature for most
yeah.
things.
So they had to come down, get it out off of the car, and they had someone's Coors Light went into the car through the grill. So they were
That's
running around with
crazy.
that all day. They still managed a top 10, which is, they had a great car. But yeah, but I thought, oh, Christopher Bell, he's looking good, but he had a couple issues, incidents in that beautiful Interstate Batteries car, but so he couldn't do it. But it was Kyle Larson, young money, struck again, and now this ties him among Hendrick Motorsports drivers for third all time with Chase Elliott for wins at Hendrick Motorsports, which
That's
is saying
crazy.
something
Yeah,
because
that's crazy.
let's see, he's been with Hendrick for just over 2 years now, or three, no, 2 years. Forget how time works sometimes. And he's able to do that. He just shows how dominant he's been. I I've it's hard to bet against him on 1.5 mile tracks. Tyler Reddick was close to challenging him, just came up a little short. Uh, it was a good battle last 2 laps. So it was just a race. Will be forgotten in a year's time. Good race, not great. Yeah.
And now for the news.
Shall we get into the news, Ethan?
Let's get into the news.
Uh, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is departing the NBC broadcast booth, set to join Amazon Prime and Warner Brothers in 2025. I don't think this has been actually officially official yet, but Dale Jr. said he won't, like, the rumor saying, oh, he's leaving because of these reasons of it going to a remote booth and other things. He said, no, NBC's not going to a remote booth. But he kind of worded it in a way saying that it felt like he wasn't going to be there. So we'll see. Yeah, I think it's a here's the thing. A lot of people like Dale Jr. as a commentator. I do not. I don't think he's gives good analysis compared to his counterparts in Jeff Burton, and so far what I've seen from Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer on the Fox side. But so I just think a 4-man booth is excessive. I do like it for NBC. Less people means less screaming over each other, which has been an issue for them in the past. It'll be interesting to see who Prime and WBD build around, who put around Dale Jr. Are you going to go Adam Alexander from the Fox? Are you going to go with Alan Bestwick for play-by-play? Who are you going to bring in as analysis for crew chiefs? Are you going to go Chad Knaus? You're going to bring him in? Are you going to bring someone else? I don't know who. Or are you going to bring in another driver? Like Jamie McMurray, who's currently at Fox in a small role? Are you going to bring someone who isn't broadcasting but has done a little work in the past, like Matt Kenseth has, Kurt Busch has, for example? So it'll be interesting to see how those broadcast teams form around Junior. Yeah, I do think having Junior in a role is good for the sport because he knows so much. At least with NBC, I just didn't like how he was communicating because Junior knows a lot. Yeah. Moving on to Indycar. Last night, this will be 2 nights ago, when this comes out, I said Dale Coyne has yet to announce their drivers. There's 89 hours left until practice 1 for IndyCar. Well, they did just that. They confirmed Jack Harvey for the majority in the 18, along with Nolan Siegel for races where the Indy Next series isn't racing. So that will be Thermal, Long Beach, Indy 500, and I want to say Toronto, if my memory serves me right. And then Jack Harvey for the rest of them in the 18. And then in the 51, you have Colin Brown for the first 2 races being St. Pete and Thermal Club, leaving 16 races left on field. It is believed to be calf and leg for the ovals, so we'll see how that goes. But it's interesting doing this so late. Dale Coyne Racing has been traditionally later in their driver releases, but at least within recent memory, they haven't gone this late, which is kind of surprising. And then something else I put on Twitter is I think it was 8 Indy only teams had announced their team and driver for the race. That just shows how late it is, and there's something like 80 days until Indy, which is kind of wild. I don't think you'd see an F1 team doing that, or even
No,
a
for
NASCAR.
sure not.
That would be funny.
Talking about like Lewis
with
Hamilton driving for Ferrari in
yeah,
2025 before 2024 testing even starts.
yeah, I've seen this on NBA Twitter, or not Twitter, Instagram, but imagine this with Formula One. It's just that none of the news gets announced or driver changes, so you just see next year Lewis Hamilton in a Ferrari colors. Just the world would go, and it was shocking already. but the world would be in more shock.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be that. We'll see who else Coin puts in their car. I have a hunch Cody Ware might be driving for them because Ware has driven for them in the past. He isn't doing full-time NASCAR, so maybe you might see him on the road courses. We'll see. We'll see. Who knows? I am a little bit surprised that Jack Harvey isn't full-time because I think you'd want to have some stability in a full-time driver just for consistency on a race-to-race basis. Or at least even let's have Siegel for the street courses and Harvey for the rest of them would make more sense. But I see how it is. I do think Nolan Siegel will be in the Dale Coyne car full time in 2025. Yeah. Going on to the next piece of news, Callum Ilott to stand in for injured Malukas in St. Petersburg. I think as pretty much everyone expected. I liked seeing this good move. We'll see if what Callum can do in the seat for this one race. And it would be interesting if him and Canapino crashed for obvious reasons. might start World War III between Argentina and England, but we'll see.
Yeah.
IndyCar to try out new FP1 approach for St. Petersburg. So basically, they're going to take for first, I think 10 or 20 minutes, everyone gets to go out, and then they'll divide the cars in two, and for the rest of the session, have Group A goes out for 10 minutes, Group B going out for 10 minutes, or might be 20 minutes, I don't remember. But the point of it is that the cycle would normally happen anyway, because that's just how IndyCar runs. Run for 20 minutes, sit for 20 minutes to get your adjustments done, to see if they do anything. And with that being said, instead of having all the cars on possibly out on track at once, you now have naturally split in half, getting action for fans at all times. I like this move. I think it will work, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Pato O'Ward signs multi-year contract extension at Arrow McLaren.
Good for him. Good for Arrow McLaren.
Yeah. Weird thing about it is a whole article. I didn't see when his current contract was set to expire or when this extension is going to expire. I did say it wouldn't expire this off season, so I think his current contract was going to go to end of 25. So this will probably put him till 27 at least, which I would be, if I'm Arrow McLaren, I'm locking up Pato as long as I can. I think he's the driver that can go get championships for your organization. You haven't had any yet in IndyCar. You've had just wins. You had a winless season last year, surprisingly. So we'll see what that duo can do together. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's a great driver, in my opinion, who, I think given, I don't know. I guess I'm trying to say, I think that him and McLaren could potentially go all the way together. So I like them keeping the partnership going on.
Yeah, it's been a while since a team not named Penske or Ganassi had a driver that won an IndyCar championship. I want to say the last one was Ryan Hunter-Reay in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say, which was for Andretti, if I remember correctly. Let's see if I'm correct. Yeah, I'll just run through it for you all listening at home. 23 was Palou for Ganassi. 22 was Power for Penske. 21 was Palou with Ganassi. 20 was Dixon for Ganassi. That 2019 was Newgarden for Penske. Dixon in 18 again. 17 Newgarden again. 16 was Simon Pagenaud for Penske. 15 was Dixon for Ganassi, who tied that year in points with Juan Pablo Montoya was for Penske, but Dixon won the title by having more victories. Power won the in 14 for Penske, Dixon again in 13, and Hunter Ray in 2012 for Andretti Autosport. So it has been a while, as we'll talk later. We'll see if we think that changes. But yeah. Moving on to F1. Ethan, do you want to take these?
Yeah, I'll take F1. So first off, FIA president, Mr. I'm probably gonna butcher his last name, but Mohammed
Mr. Ben.
Mohammed Ben Sulayem. I have no idea. I'm very sorry. Mohammed, anyway, is being investigated after a whistleblower came out and basically said that Mohammed intervened to overturn a penalty that was given to Fernando Alonso at last year's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And another report is also claiming that he told officials to not certify the Las Vegas circuit for its high-profile race in November, according to ESPN and the BBC. This is not, confirmed. This is just allegations that are being looked into. We'll see where it goes from here, but that's some pretty serious stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, interfering with race results is wild, really.
Yeah.
And just not acceptable at all. And the Las Vegas thing is, I mean, it's pretty interesting. I don't really know.
Why you
I
would do
I guess
that?
I guess maybe he thought he had the same concerns about the track as the rest of us did, but I mean, if it was able to be certified, why would he want them not to? So, I don't know. Interesting stuff. So we'll hear more later on, but pretty serious allegations.
Mhm.
Next up is just some more Red Bull drama.
Woo.
It's all out there. You all listening can go look at it. I don't really feel like we should be devoting much time on the podcast to talking about it, but just briefly. Obviously, Christian Horner was at the race weekend. He was acting as team principal because he is the team principal. But there's just rumors and all this about how Jos Verstappen has issues with Christian Horner staying in power and this, that, and the other thing. So Red Bull and Verstappen's advisors or whoever they were, someone in the Verstappen camp apparently met over the weekend to try to smooth everything out. I don't really know what to make of these rumors. I can't see Christian Horner leaving Red Bull. I can't see Max leaving Red Bull, but that's just my opinion. We also found out, though, that Max Verstappen has a performance-related release clause in his contract. Obviously, that is not going to be activated anytime soon, but something interesting. Getting back into some real news, though. Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Grand Prix, which currently races at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, will be having a new home eventually, we saw images of a render of the new track in which would be in the city of Qiddiya, I believe is how you would pronounce that. The construction project is not going to be ready until 2027 at the earliest, according to ESPN. It's 30 miles outside the capital city of Saudi Arabia, so it's going to have a lot of attention. There's going to be a lot of people at those races, and the proposed track was designed by Herman Tilke, as most S1 tracks, alongside Alex Wurz, according to ESPN.
I saw that too, according to Racer. So
yeah, so this track is not just a track; it's like a whole complex. There's going to be like theme parks nearby, and this and that and the other thing. So it's going to be like a huge, big thing. And the images of the track look pretty crazy. The descriptions of the track seem pretty crazy as well.
20 stories of elevation change.
Yeah.
I don't know what Circuit of the Americas turn 1 is, but I'm feeling something like that.
Yeah. So that's gonna be like throughout the entire track, but yeah. I'm reading this from the ESPN article. The latest images reveal plans for an elevated first corner known as the Blade, which rises 70 meters above a concert space below. So there's going to be more of, F1 turning into a bit of F1's already a circus, really, but turning into an event beyond racing, which, I've already talked about how I feel about that on the podcast. But still, this track looks pretty interesting. It sounds pretty interesting. I'm excited for it. The Jeddah track is very exciting as well, but it doesn't seem safe in my opinion.
It's a street circuit.
Yeah, and I like going to a real racetrack that's, supposed to be a racetrack. So I think this is going to be cool. It's going to be interesting. 2027 at the earliest, so long way out, but it's good to see these plans. And then the last bit of F1
before
news,
that, I do want to talk about that. When I do believe was when Jeddah was announced and when Qatar was announced, they said, "Okay, yeah, we're going to build tracks for these races, and like starting like 2023 or 2024. I don't remember what they originally said, but obviously neither of those have happened. With the race, they originally said going to permanent road courses. They haven't happened yet. I like what I'm seeing with in the Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. So, last bit of F1 news: the Alpine team not only had a terrible weekend, but is going to be looking a little bit different. I cannot speak English today for some reason. The technical leads at Alpine are departing, so that would be. Give me a second.
So they're gonna need Indeed.
Yeah, it's going to be technical director Matt Harmon and head of aerodynamics Dirk De Beer leaving Alpine. Alpine reshuffling around, those guys leaving. The team's just a mess right now, but there's going to be a trio of technical directors now, with different guys focusing on engineering, aerodynamics, and performance, according to F1.com. So Alpine released a statement that says, after a period of disappointing results in the FIA Formula One World Championship, where the team has fallen from fourth in the 2022 championship to sixth in 2023, missing several key targets in its ambition to reach the front of the grid. That basically prompted these changes to be made. So Alpine, they are trying to change some things around, but long road ahead of them.
Yeah.
And now for next week's race previews.
So now into the previews, Ethan. Tell us about Saudi Arabia.
Well, do we want to go over the pick points first, or?
No, we'll go with that with the picks when we make picks.
Okay.
Which
Preview for Saudi Arabia. Saudi. Yeah. I don't know. It's gonna be this weekend, upcoming weekend, and another Saturday morning race for us here in the States. So
Saturday in the park. I think it was the 4th of July.
I don't really have anything else to say to preview it. It's Saudi Arabia.
It's a street
Fuck it.
track.
It
Will
is.
will
It is the fastest track in F1. A lot of
actually?
yeah.
I thought it would have been Monza.
Well, no, I'm pretty sure it's Saudi.
Huh?
Yeah. A lot of high speed corners. Crazy road course. Probably gonna see some craziness this weekend. Well, I guess I'll say this. We don't know too much about these new cars yet, or the cars for this season, because it's only been one race. But expect for the McLarens to have a better weekend this week than they did in Bahrain. Obviously the Red Bulls are still going to be very good. I would expect Sergio to be closer to Max this weekend than he was last weekend. But yeah, we'll see. We still don't know much about these 2024 cars yet, so can't really give too much of a preview.
All right. NASCAR comes to not too far from where I'm at. Phoenix Raceway, I'll be there Sunday. So yeah, I'll have some thoughts for Phoenix a little bit more in depth than what I normally do. Xfinity, no trucks this week. First time that's happened all year with no trucks. ARCA is back with qualifying, which is good to see. ARCA just randomly have 2 weeks of people not qualifying, so that's interesting. But yeah, Phoenix, a lot of people use the dog leg. You'll see that. It's a 312-mile race, 502-kilometer race. That's where the 500 comes from. And the Shriners Children's Hospital 500. Yeah, not much to preview. Expect crazy restarts. Expect long green runs. Similar to what Vegas is, I don't think we'll see as many cautions or many strategy plays out, but we'll see. Phoenix always has to come up with a good finish for whatever reason. So we'll see. IndyCar has their season opening race at St. Petersburg. We'll preview the season later in this episode, so stick around for that. But they're going to St. Petersburg, half road course, half street course, half airport course. Only one in IndyCar. Sebring's the only thing else like that has a major series racing on it. So that's kind of cool. Little thing they got there. Yeah, it's a street course. If you remember, McLaughlin and Grosjean were the dominant cars last year, and they kind of oopsied coming out of the pits together, handing the win to what is called the sneaky Swede Marcus Ericsson. So we'll see what will happen there.
And now for next week's race picks.
With all that being said, let's get into the pick points. The picks. We'll just go over what happened last week. I extended my lead. I currently lead 33-24 Guest, Ethan 20 bringing up the rear like Alpine. Last week, Royce picked Corey Heim, who was right. Ethan and Royce picked Austin Hill, who beat Sam. I spoke wrong. Corey Heim. He beat out Kyle Busch, who Ethan and I picked. I picked Logano, who beat out Bell and Byron. For Hypercar in the great place of Qatar. That rhymed. Ethan picked the 8 Toyota, which beat the 51A, of course. And then you guys took my pick of the 46 WRT and beat me with it.
No one was stopping you.
Yeah, but I didn't want to do that. But we'll see if that happens this week. And for Formula 2, Royce had Hogger and Verschoor who beat out Martins and Bergman both in the sprint and then the main, getting him points. But in the F1 race, I predicted Verstappen, Perez, Sainz podium, which was all correct. Royce and Ethan got Verstappen, and then Ethan, picked Checo to finish on the podium, but the wrong position, which got you 1 point. So yeah, I took 16 points from that weekend. Ethan, you took 9, and the guest Royce took 10, making the gaps further apart, which I love to see. So
don't get too comfortable.
No, you can never get too comfortable. I said last week was big week. We had 10 things last week. We got 9 this week. So another big banging week.
A lot of points up for grabs.
Yeah, a lot of points up for grabs. Starting off, Indy next. Ethan, who do you have?
I have Nolan Seigel. How do you say his last name? Siegel.
Like the bird.
Missing on all the guesses. Yeah, Nolan Siegel. Don't know too much about the guy, but I do know he's impressive. I mean, he has IndyCar drives lined up already. He's only 19 years old. Palo Alto, shout out Palo Alto. That's where he's from. Not too far away from me, so I'll back him.
Yeah, the guest this week, since I'm back home, I asked my dad to do it. He did do it. He picked Siegel as well, and I picked him as well. He won Rookie of the Year last year. And Lights was such a cooler name. I'd still stand on that hill, and his 2 competitors who won 2 in the championship aren't in the championship anymore, so he could be a possible winner. But with that being said, I'm also taking Siegel as well. Ethan, who do you have for the IndyCar or the big IndyCar race?
I have the champ, Alex Palou, winning St. Pete.
My dad, a couple years ago, Colton Herta won St. Pete, and that's who my dad is going with. I'm going to say this because I should be picking Scott McLaughlin. That is the smart pick here. However, I choose not to be because I don't think that's going to be the winner. I'm going to take fresh off his contract extension, Patricio O'Ward, to win at St. Petersburg, Florida, not Russia, but yeah,
not Russia.
Xfinity, who do you have, Ethan?
I have Chandler Smith. He's ran well there before, I should say. Think he goes and gets the job done this time. He's had a nice start to the season this year, but hasn't gotten a win, so I think he'll grab that.
Yeah, Gibbs is always good there in the Xfinity Series. My dad took AJ Allmendinger. Obviously, he's a solid driver. Can't go too wrong there.
Well, I'm taking the Cup regular John Hunter Nemechek. I learned from last week, saw John Hunter Nemechek win. I said, yeah, that's a good car, good driver. Makes sense that he won. I would be very surprised. I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. I'm taking John Hunter Nemechek in the second normal race of the year. Even though William
Yeah,
Byron's
I was
racing,
kind of thinking of
William
taking him,
Byron's,
but
yeah.
can't put all my eggs in the same basket as you. Gotta try to climb back and get some points.
I wanted to go William Byron, but who knows? I'm surprised you didn't go Byron, or my dad didn't either. But moving on to Cup, Ethan, take it away.
What I was saying is I was thinking of taking John Hunter Nemechek, but
Mhm.
can't put all my eggs in the same basket as you.
Mhm.
So I went Chandler Smith
Yeah.
there. Picked Ryan Blaney for the Cup. I
Mhm.
said your dad picked Logano,
Yeah.
and you picked Blaney as well.
Yeah, Blaney always runs well. Phoenix, solid driver. With the Logano pick for my dad, real quick. Logano's good at Phoenix. He's won there before. Won his championship in another race there. That's a good pick. Yeah, like I said, Blaney runs well at Phoenix. So yeah, Ethan.
Yeah. For F2.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. I said yeah.
For F2, the sprint race, I have Zane Maloney, who should have mentioned this while I was recapping. Zane Maloney is walking out of Bahrain, the leader of the F2 championship. He won not only the sprint race, but the feature race in Bahrain. Got picked up by the Sauber Driving Academy and making them look smart.
Yeah.
Picking up a couple of wins there.
Yeah,
I
the
think he will
Barbadian driver.
have another good performance in Saudi Arabia. He last year in Saudi didn't do that well, so bit of a risky pick still, but we'll see.
Yeah. My dad went I want to mention, because I forgot to mention when I was reviewing NASCAR, Rajah Caruth got himself his first Truck Series win. Congrats to him. Popular one among NASCAR as a whole. In Xfinity, it was John Hunter Nemechek, as I just mentioned a moment ago. But going to back to F2, my dad picked, I want to say, the reigning F3 champion, Gabriel Bartolotto, who's moved up. I think it was him. If it wasn't him, he did have a good season last year in F2, I will say, or F3. Numbers are hard. Well, I'm going in the sprint race, a guy who's desperate. I think the desperation is higher in sprint races. Give me Victor Martins after scoring 0 points last couple races.
Yeah.
Me him.
I have Bortoletto winning the F2 feature race. Bortoletto, like you said, Andrew, he did win the F2 championship last year. He was
F3.
on pole, or yeah, F3.
Numbers
sorry.
are hard.
Numbers are hard. Yeah. So I'm on break, man. I'm not thinking about using my brain.
The F championship.
Yeah.
Just call
So
it that.
Bortoletto, he won F3 last year, got pole in Bahrain, couldn't convert that into anything crazy. You know, he had a decent weekend, but I think he'll go and grab that win in Saudi.
Yeah. My dad thinks the same. I think Formula 2 is low-key stacked this year. But I'm picking Jack Crawford, the American, to win. I don't know why I thought that, but I do think Crawford's going to win.
Yeah. I should also mention that Prema, who have both Oliver Behrman and Kimi Antonelli, two drivers that people really expected a lot from. Prema really dropped the ball for those two with the car in Bahrain. Kimi Antonelli managed to finish 10th in the feature race, but still him and Oliver Behrman, a bit of a disastrous weekend. So no one picked either of the two Prema drivers this weekend. They could definitely turn things around, but no one taking
Mhm.
the risk on the bounce back.
Uh, all right. F1 podium, Ethan. What is your genius concocted?
I went for the underdog Max Verstappen.
Really?
Really?
Wow. Who else? Are you gonna tell me your next two guys are underdogs on the podium too?
You want me to go through the entire three? I thought we were just going one and then two and then three.
Uh,
Second, I have Max's teammate Sergio Perez. I doubted Sergio last weekend. He still managed to finish second. Charles could have finished second if it wasn't for the brake issue, but he in fact did have the brake issue. This weekend, though, Sergio is really good around Saudi, and street circuits in general. So I'm going to say that he finishes second, but I do have Leclerc in third place, rounding that out. I did say that the McLarens would be strong,
but not that strong.
but I don't think that either McLaren is going to be able to beat Leclerc. So yeah, Max first, Sergio Perez second. That was one of the two races that Sergio won last year. So
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? And then Leclerc third.
My dad thought the exact same drivers as you, except he swapped Leclerc and Perez. That's just what he did. It's just how he thinks. Moving on. I went same podium as last week. If it's broke, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. And yeah, Verstappen, Perez signs. I can't read. Which
we're on break. Like, you guys got to cut us some slack. We're not thinking.
It's just that I am thinking. I'm just not thinking well.
But that's good.
Normally this would be the end of the episode, but we are previewing the IndyCar season here. So what we have is a tier list here of all the drivers. Ethan doesn't have it. I do. What we're gonna do is right now we're gonna put all the guys in part-time that part-time. So Ed Carpenter part-time. Don't expect much from him. Again, same thing with his teammate Christian Rasmussen, Nolan Siegel, Callum Ilott. I don't know why he's here, but he is. I think that's Colin Braun. I think that looks like him. I don't see Jack Harvey in here, which was interesting. But anyway, that leaves us. Oh, there's Jack. Didn't see Jack there. Stingray Rob, 24th, because he's just not very good. 23rd, Pietro Fittipaldi. I just don't expect much from him. The Ray Hall cars kind of sucked last year. Yeah, not much else to say. I'm also gonna throw Agustin Canapino in there. Just he's decent, but he's not that great. And a Juncos car, that's not great. Also gonna put Santino Ferrucci in the 21 to 24 boat. Not gonna see much wins out of there. Moving up from 16 to 20, this group of guys who are gonna be good but not great. Might see possibly a top 5 at best. We're gonna put Roman Grosjean in there just because poor ride. Okay driver. We're gonna go Tom Blomqvist, the rookie. It was okay last year. We'll see what he can do this year. We're also going to put one of the other rookies, if I can find him. Mr. Kiffin Simpson wasn't great in Indy Lights. Don't think he'll be great here. I'm also gonna throw Rinus VK in here just because Ed Carpenter Racing, not the strongest team, quite frankly. And then I'll put maybe in a bit of a surprise, but actually, no, I'm not going to do him. I'm going to do Felix Rosenquist. I don't think he's going to be as bad as some of these other guys, but I just not a believer in the Shank cars, quite frankly. But moving into the 11 to 15, next group of guys, we're going to go Graham Rahal. Always been in that group for a long time. Solid driver, just see maybe a podium. Probably not. Marcus Armstrong had a good rookie season last year. I think he'll improve, but not improve that much. I'm going to also put Linus Lundqvist in there. Another, rookie-ish season last year, part-time. Looked good. Probably be in this group as well. Going to throw David Malukas in as well, just part-time. He's going to be missing a race. Even though I said all these other guys aren't probably going to, other part-time guys, I'm kind of making an exception here from Lucas because he injured himself. And for my final guy in this group, I'm going to go with, this might come as a surprise to some of you, but I'm going to put Colton Herta in this group. He's kind of inconsistent, which, I don't know if the inconsistency will be able to do him what he wants. But you'll see a podium from him from sure, I would imagine. Maybe a couple, maybe might be eke out one. These next guys you're gonna see on the 6 to 10. You're gonna see multiple podiums from maybe a win or two. First one I'm gonna put is Kyle Kirkwood. Strong year with Andretti last year, 2 wins. Expect more from him. Alexander Rossi, put him in as well. Been a solid driver. He'll probably be back half top 10. Christian Lundgaard will probably build on his season that he had last year, picking up his first win, and might add some more. And put Marcus Ericsson up. Always been solid driver. Think he'll be good right in this area. And then I'm also going to put Will Power in this group. Aging driver, still got it though, but we'll see. So that leaves, and for 5th place, I'm going to put Pato O'Ward. I just don't think the McLaren can just take the Penske's and the Ganassis just like that. And 4th place rather, I'm going to put Scott Dixon. He's still a great driver, but extra oval I don't love for him. That's why I'm going to put Scott McLaughlin 3rd in front of him, just because he's good at the street courses. Look at St. Pete. He's good at the ovals. So I think he's an all-around driver. I don't think any particular track hurts them as compared to others. So I'm going to put him 3rd. 2nd, I'm going to put this guy only 2nd because he's just not as good as ovals as who I'm going to put 1st. Alex Palou. He's just not as good as ovals that Joseph Newgarden is. So I have Joseph Newgarden winning. That extra oval at the end of the year just puts it in Newgarden's favor. Well, that's how I think the IndyCar season is going to go. Ethan, what are your thoughts on the IndyCar season here?
Well, it's always exciting. We have a pretty good idea of who's going to be the strong teams, who's going to be the race winners, who's going to be the championship contenders. But still, things could change, and it's one of those series where, anything can kind of happen. So we'll see. But I think you did a good job breaking that down.
Would you like to give us a top 10, top 5, and champion?
Ooh, would I like to do that? Ooh.
Or at least a top.
Do I want to make myself look silly, or will I leave the silly looking for you? No, I'll do it real quick. We don't have a lot of time left on this recording, but yeah, I'll go over it real quick. Let's see. Well, Well, I'll say that I think that Alex Palou will repeat as champion. That'll be my first little prediction here. He's just a really good driver who after the amazing season he had last year, can you really count against him? In second, I'm going to say Scott McLaughlin jumping up, continuing to improve. In third, I'll say Scott Dixon. So I'll swap Scott McLaughlin and Scott Dixon. In fourth, I have Paddle Award again, and then I'll have Will Power. Will I? I will. In fifth. So that's my top 5.
No Newgarden. That's a choice.
I think we'll finish 6th.
I
don't know.
I
I mean, Newgarden is good, but really good, but it's hard to say. I mean, I think that that's a realistic top 5, I think.
well, I'm pretty much in agreement with you, except for Newgarden. Power. Just don't love him because he's aging.
Yeah,
Power
that's fair.
he's getting into his. Well, Dixon is older than him, but we saw a slight step backwards from Power last year, which kind of concerns me.
I
But
guess I'm banking on a rebound this year that maybe I shouldn't be banking on.
maybe maybe he might, and make me look like an idiot. But we'll see.
We'll see.
All right, that was a kind of chaotic episode of Wi-Fi. Does not work as well as it does at ASU. I will say ASU does have good Wi-Fi. But
Yeah.
Ethan, do you have any thoughts before we end this episode?
Yes. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
To me, it looked like he actually lost the wheel.
The wheel for Ross Chastain is still and perfect.
Wheel on the track.
Could you leave the wheel loose?
You picked the fine time to leave me loose, wheel.